#1.
Miss any part of the show? Every moment of every show is available in podcast form by searching Hans and Scotty on your favorite podcasting platform or online at KSLSports.com. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hope you are all well.
Excited about this next guest.
Good friend of ours, Matt Thomas, kind enough to hang out with us. Coming to us from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia.
He's a good one.
He's a good one, as the old folks back in Idaho would say. He's a good one.
He's a good one.
Matt's with us. Matt, how you doing?
What's up, Matt?
Outstanding, gentlemen. How are you?
Oh, it's good to hear from you.
Where does Philadelphia rank on your cities of choice on the NBA circuit?
Oh, bottom third. Easily. Come on now.
Yeah, I figured as much.
Is it the fans? What is it?
It's everything. Now, they have a casino downtown, which gives me bonus points for that. The cheesesteaks are good, but everything else, they're just rude, ugly people.
Yeah.
Just period.
Where does New Orleans rank? Talking about casinos.
New Orleans? I would say middle of the pack. Middle of the pack, yeah. My top five are anything on the West Coast. That means L.A., San Francisco, Portland. I like D.C. I mean, it's actually easier to tell you where I don't like to go, and most of them are in the East.
Yeah.
Scotty, where did New Orleans rank in STD transition?
That would be number one.
Number one.
We read that story the other day. Yeah.
Gotta be careful.
Got personal quick.
Yep.
That's a bad area. There's some bad apples in that area.
Say you may just want to hang out in your hotel room. All right. So you're coming to Provo. So you're part of the broadcast then. What do you got going on with Houston?
So I do the pregame shows when I can, and then when I can't, because of Rockets commitments, I just do it from the studio or do it from the hotel wherever I am. But the Rockets play tonight here against Philadelphia, and then we don't play again until Sunday night at 6 o'clock against Oklahoma City. So it gives me a chance to get back to the 801 and go see some friends and go check out the Cougars. I've been listening to Hanju on the BYU radio on Sirius XM, so you guys are sounding great as always. Looking forward to catching up with you guys and just take it easy on us. It's been a interesting season here for new coach Willie Fritz.
I don't think taking it easy is exactly the best idea over the last 2 weeks and what's happened, Matt. It's been pretty bad.
I know. But here's the thing. We can't score. We can't move the ball. We had an offensive coordinator change this week, and I think it was just basically to get ahead of the game a little bit. Kevin Barbe was relieved of his duties. They're going to go with the quarterback's coach as a play caller. We've had two quarterbacks this year. One just has not been able to move the team down the football field. One's a very good runner, and you'll see him with Zeon Chris, but he just throwing the football is not his forte, and we're just stuck in neutral, unfortunately. Defense has been a lot better this year than anybody thought it would be, but boys, I don't mean to be blunt, but we just can't score.
Well, I mean, that's what I was going to say. Offensively, it's been a nightmare. The last ranked team in all of college football in terms of points per game, but defensively, this is a solid team that is giving people a lot of problems, creating a lot of turnovers. Is that locker room holding together? Because, I mean, that's quite a discrepancy between two sides of the ball there.
Well, here's the thing, Scotty. I don't know if the locker room needs to hold it together or not. I mean, there's 60 new faces on this team this year. I mean, they've obviously gotten along and worked well with each other, but this was a complete overhaul from what Dana Holgorsen got left and what Willie Fritz inherited. So he had to go to the portal real quick. He had to go to the JC route. Obviously, transfers are a huge part of this. And so they've all kind of embraced the opportunity to play a lot. Their defense has been really good. You saw that against Utah a few weeks back. You saw that in the Kansas State game. But the defense can only do so much. And the biggest problem is the Cougars' offense has been turning it over a lot in the red zone, a lot in short field. We saw that against Kansas earlier this year. We saw that against Baylor, and we saw it against Oklahoma. And if not for some really untimely turnovers, this team may have one or two more victories. But the number one thing that I think Willie Fritz is going to have to do in the portal is go get a legitimate, big, strong-arm quarterback. And this will still be a run-first team next year, but he just needs somebody that's going to be able to be a little bit more of a threat downfield because right now it's pretty easy to stack the box with running backs, and because you know that Chris is the main thing he can do is run with the football. And Hans, when you call the game on Saturday, I would not be surprised if he's going to carry it 15 to 17 times. His first look, frankly, in shotgun is to read option and to run the ball downfield because the passing game just has not been non-existent.
This is that bad. Walk me through 2 or 3 of the standout defenders, in your opinion, guys that have really flashed and done big things in any position defensively.
Yeah. Defensive end Keith Cooper has been fantastic. He's been really, really good. The front four has been good. The linebackers haven't been terribly bad. Michael Batten and Hershey McLaurin have been really good in coverage. The secondary has been beat up a little bit, been exposed passing-wise. But I think the front seven has been really, really good. And you can ask Utah about the amount of pressure they faced in that game a few weeks back at TDUCU Stadium. But the name you'll be hearing a lot will be Keith Cooper, one of the ends. He's been really, really strong. They go about 7 or 8 deep. They'll rotate a lot of guys in and out, as most teams do. But I think the number one thing, if I'm BYU, is I want to take a 7-strap drop. I want my offensive line to protect me, and I want to throw the ball down the football field. And if you can do that, I think BYU is going to have a lot of success.
That's a problem. That's the one thing they can't do, Matt.
Well, then it's going to be a lot closer game than I think than a lot of people think it's going to be. I'm concerned about the weather. I'm concerned about the fact that there's a lot to play for, obviously, and you've still got a chance at a Big 12 championship game. But also there's a lot of it that could be a spoiler role. Willie Fritz this week basically telling everybody in the Houston meeting, he's telling the kids this is their bowl game. So, and you know what that's like when Kansas came into Provo a couple weeks ago. They kind of had that same sort of philosophy, and they pulled off the upset. So I like the guys. They're really hard workers. They're good kids. They're buying into Willie Fritz. And by the way, Willie is an excellent, excellent football coach. Anywhere he has gone, whether it be Georgia Southern, whether it be at Tulane, he turns football programs around. The thing that just obviously concerns me, and I'm sure that BYU has this issue too, is I'm really concerned about the portal. I'm really concerned about NIL, and I'm really, really worried that if you don't have a blank check ready to go for a quarterback and your key skill position receivers and running backs, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. And that's where I think the University of Houston's got to really step up to play with the other boys in this conference.
Well, that's one thing that, I think a lot of us assume that Houston's just flush with cash. You're saying that may not necessarily be the case.
Honestly, I don't. Look, they don't show me the record books. Now, we did have to pay out the offensive coordinator $750,000 to move him on to another position on the program. So they were able to find a private donor for that. We've got a lot of big boosters. They've just gone to that same group of people over and over again. And I think the new athletic director, Eddie Nunez, is trying to find some different folks to step in. But the thing that concerns me selfishly is I'm in the middle of A&M and Texas, and even Texas Tech and Baylor have huge collectives. And in the state where football reigns king, you've got to be able to stay mano-a-mano with those guys if you want to be competitive. And while it may be, you may have as much money to take care of an Iowa State or go against a Kansas or a Kansas State, you want to keep these Texas kids as home as much as you can. But realistically, if you don't have the same amount of money that A&M and Texas is paying out for these athletes, it's going to be a situation we're going to kind of fall up short. So I don't know where that goes, but frankly, right now, a lot of the universities is subsidizing athletics because the Big 12 payments have not come in yet fully. And once they do, maybe things will be different. But right now, I wouldn't be sitting around throwing $20 bills around the University of Houston campus at this point.
Matt, we appreciate your time. Looking forward to getting you here to Provo and get a chance to run by and grab a little Cafe Rio on your way home. So there you go.
Bring that extra meat, extra, free meal, extra. I got all the vernacular down. I still come to all these Rockets Jazz games. I try to get the crew with me to go with me. And they're like, we can get fajita salads anywhere. I'm like, but it's a Cafe freaking Rio. Come on now.
Hey, bring that down feather coat, too. It's going to be cold. It's going to be cold.
What's the game time temperature going to be Saturday night?
Somewhere in the 30s, 30, 31, 32.
Oh, it's at least it's a dry cold.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a dry cold.
It's balmy. It'll be fine.
It'll drop to 24 by the time it's over.
Oh, that's spectacular. Boys, nice talking with you. It's always call me whenever.
You got it. Matt Thomas right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, Houston Rocket play-by-play voice, and part of the University of Houston football broadcast as well. So there you go.
Wasn't that lovely? Said throw deep.
Yeah.
Well, if you could throw deep, run your receivers and just go deep. Honestly, can't remember the last fade that was hit over the top.
A big go route.
There's some pretty sweet deep crossers, some nice 15, 18-yard slants, but touch pass over the top, we've seen a lot of them missed.
Yeah.
They came out against Arizona State and went at it. They were like, Well, let's go show them. You throw the play action at them and bomb it deep. Did that against Kansas. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing over the top. So that's a concern. And what's crazy is you can see the defenses know it.
Yeah.
Because when he throws it, the receiver is typically 3 or 4 steps, which is an extra 3 or 4 yards in front of the defender. And you're like, overthrow or underthrow
or out of bounds.
Or out of bounds. So it is not Jake Retzlaff's, has not been his best throw.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean he can't hit it because I've seen him hit it. I've seen him hit that pass. So I know it's in him.
Do you think an off season of trying to get that dialed in, he can get himself in a better place?
No.
It's just you are who you are at this point?
Yeah. Yep.
Huh?
You are who you are at that point. You don't have that. And I'm not saying that you can't throw it. You have to continue to throw it.
Yeah.
And there could be a game where he dials it in and you're like, oh, there it is. But he doesn't have the right trajectory. He doesn't have the right strength. He doesn't, there were, 4 go routes run by JoJo Phillips, I think, that were targeted against Arizona State. One of them was a touchdown. 2 of them were bad throws. And I can't remember the 4th. But you remember the touchdown that should have been scored.
Yes.
JoJo Phillips was wide open running into that cover 2.
Yeah.
And it was the exact route with the almost exact throw that they scored on in the opposite end zone. If Jake just puts it on the money, it's a touchdown. And a lot of people are upset because JoJo Phillips didn't lay out, including me. It's bizarre because the game's on the line.
Got to go get it.
Minute 40 left.
Yeah.
You got the beat on the route. You've already scored on it once. You can't expect that ball to be the delivery man every time and be put in your hands. Sometimes you're going to have to sacrifice your body. And I don't know how many people have ever run a full speed route and laid out for a ball and what it does to your body. I have.
Yeah.
Multiple times I've done it.
Yeah.
You get out there. In fact, when I used to go to that swim club, Donovan McNabb, I would run go routes. I would run against the corners. I would run routes, and Donovan would throw them to me.
Yeah.
And I used to love to do that.
Yeah.
And I'd get going full speed in a route as fast as my 300-pound frame could go. And he'd throw it, and you'd just go for it, and you'd land. It takes the air out of you. It jacks up joints. I think people just get used to seeing receivers go at it, and they're like, oh, well, that's just what they do. I'm telling you, it takes a sacrifice of the body to really go at a catch. When you know I'm going to have a collision with the ground, a collision with the defender, this could be it.
And sometimes guys are laying out with the catch, bringing it in, and then landing on the ball, which causes even more problems.
Breaks ribs.
Yep.
Dislocates ribs.
If nothing else, knocks the air out of you, which you feel like you're dying for about 30 seconds.
Yeah, when it hits in the diaphragm.
Yeah.
It does. It'll knock the air right out of you. And then, I'm watching JoJo, and I'm like, I've watched the replay a couple times. I'm like, maybe. Maybe. I even watched the interception to Darius Lassiter that went through his hands. And, he jumped and he extended. But it's like, how much more could you have given me?
Yeah.
Did you completely sell out for everything you were worth? Or did you short arm it because you knew that defender was sitting over the top of that route? And if you do catch it, if he's got the right angle, he's going to break ribs. So how much did you sell out? That's why, as a defender, what I do in the first quarter dictates what you do as an offensive player in the fourth quarter. So I'm testing boundaries. I'm putting my hands in your face. I'm lifting up your face mask. I'm throwing as hard of uppercuts on my rip moves as I possibly can. I'm doing everything I can to intimidate you. So then in the fourth quarter, you're like, I don't want to do this anymore.
I don't want to do this anymore.
So defenders do that to receivers. They'll pop you. They'll hit you extra. They'll see what they can get away with hitting you extra. Try not to get the flag and penalty for a defenseless receiver, but still trying to strike the fear of God deep into your guts so that when you come across the middle, you better be willing to give your life for that ball. And when I watched Darius, I'm like, man, he's such a tough kid. I think he sold out, but only he knows.
Yeah.
JoJo Phillips, I think that ball was underthrown and inside, but he didn't lay out.
Yeah.
He didn't completely sell out. And receivers have to sell out, Scotty.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You can't. That's not the time to be making a business decision.
No. I have a lot of respect for receivers. I would not like to play that position.
No.
Because every time I extend my body and I take my elbows away from my ribs, I'm leaving myself open to painful injury.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I jump and I go to grab that ball, however I'm coming down is how I'm coming down.
Yeah.
If I come down on my neck, I'm coming down on my neck. It takes guts to be a high-end receiver. You think about some of those passes Devin Tompkins caught in his time. That dude, Chase Roberts, will put his body out there. Chase has complete disregard for his body when he's running that position.
And I respect the heck out of it. I'm sure there's some times where that ball comes in and you're running a crossing route and it's behind you a little bit, and so you have to go back to get it, and you're thinking, I'm gonna catch this ball and I'm gonna straighten out, and there's gonna be a safety right there. Like, I know it. We all know it. I can feel his breath. I can smell what he had for breakfast. I know I'm about to take a hit. So what can I do? Can I clinch up and try to make the contact as palatable as possible, or can I just get the ball, bring it in, and move the chains, and then worry about the effects later?
Well, it's a business decision.
Yeah.
And I'm not calling, by the way, I'm not calling, I'm just saying, you watch the film and you're like, what more is left in the tank?
Yeah.
And maybe there was nothing left. Maybe that ball, because they're the only ones that know the angle, right?
Yeah. Yep.
We can watch it 1,000 times and act like we know the angle.
We don't.
I could explain until I was blue in the face why I gave up certain pressures, or why I did get walled off in a double team, or what my responsibility was and what you saw, how it was not my fault. Well, I did what I was supposed to do, actually. I held on to the guard and the center. Now, I didn't really move the gap or move the pile, and I know that ball cut just off the inside shoulder of that guard, and people are like, why didn't you get that gap? And you're like, that's not me, bud.
Yeah.
That ain't me.
Yeah.
It's the same with receivers. So I draw the question because the eye makes me think, well, what was left? How much more could you give? And I don't know if that's fair or not. But I do know that there are some receivers that give more, Austin Collie.
Yep.
And some receivers that give less.
Oh, yeah.
That I could name.
Yeah.
But I won't. But we all know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Insane talent. And we ask ourselves at the end of the day, why did they not have 120 yards today?
Yeah. Yeah. Got a case of the alligator arms, the T-Rex arms.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want to extend themselves. And again, it's not a shot because I can't say that I would be any better. Like, if I were playing that position, I'd probably do the same thing. I mean, that's why the elite receivers not only have talent, but they have a disregard for themselves.
They do. So do the running backs. I was listening to a podcast with Reggie Bush. He was playing against the Eagles when he was with New Orleans. Was it Dawkins?
Oh, Brian Dawkins. Yeah, the safety for the Eagles. That dude was a menace.
Do you remember the catch Bush had? And I think it was Dawkins that ripped him, ripped his body in half.
I don't remember the play, but that sounds like something Brian Dawkins would do.
And he was talking about, he went back to Drew Brees and he said, number one, bud, you've almost got me killed. Number two, don't ever do that again. But he went full extension to grab this ball. And Reggie Bush took a hit that is legendary. And I was listening to him on the podcast, and they're playing the video of the play while he's talking. And he said, you see how, do you have it?
Yeah, it was Sheldon Brown.
Sheldon Brown.
And, yeah, you're right. Like, if I were him, I'd be pissed at Drew Brees, too. Just throw out in the flat and lead him right into that hit.
Gosh. So if you watch the video, he starts crawling. Yeah, he starts crawling. He said that he legitimately thought he was going to die.
Yeah.
He said, I thought my life was over on the field.
And that's 100% on Drew Brees.
Yeah. So I get it. You're making business decisions, but I also know that you have to have the sellout receivers in order to be great, especially when you had a quarterback that might not put it exactly where it needs to be every time.
Yeah. All right, 2:27, Hans and Scotty. It's your Cougar Preview Show. We'll be off tomorrow. And then remember, on Friday, it's a Football Friday with Frank Dolce is going to come by, Alema Harrington, Ron McBride, as we recap and wrap up the regular season on Friday, coming up from 1 to 3. Hans and Scotty, this is 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, bro. You hear us every day with our crazy opinions.
Hey, what you doing?
Well, now, it's time to hear from you.
Hey, great show.
Download the KSL Sports app and fire off your thoughts with the call-in tab on the bottom of your screen.
This show is fantastic. It's the one that captivates me the most.
You can tell PK to stop singing.
Cheap bass.
Let Jake and Ben know what you really think of the Jazz. Tell Hans and Scotty about your favorite barbecue spot or what color of tie JJ should be wearing on TV. The best entries will be played on the air. Download the KSL Sports app now and hit the call-in button to let your voice be heard.
I think you guys do an incredible job.
This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. You're locked on to Hans Olsen and Scotty G. That's right, yeah! On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hey, Hans, I put out, somebody sent in a suggestion of an Orlando restaurant. And so I retweeted, said, hey, I'm going to be there for a few days. Any other suggestions? Guess what chain is in Orlando? And I say chain lightly. There's only a few of them.
Giordano's.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got that back. So we can get a little pizza.
Yeah. That is a great idea because I have hit the Orlando Giordano's, and it's delicious.
And it's just as good as Vegas?
It's just as good. Yep. And your refillable cup that you bought in Vegas will work in Orlando.
I don't think I brought it home with me in Vegas.
It's the one thing that bugs me about Giordano's. They charge you $8, but then they're like, it's a lifetime refillable cup. And you
pack it with you.
And you leave it on the table and walk out.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, it's such a great scheme because you're getting $8 out of people that you have to have soda with a pizza.
Oh yeah,
especially a deep dish. Pizza.
You're not getting water with the deep dish pizza.
No, and they're like, here's your souvenir cup. It's $12, lifetime free refills, and you just leave it on the table.
Because who's packing that thing in a suitcase? Who's bringing a cup home?
Not a single dork.
And who's going to be like, oh, hey, I'm going to be in Vegas this weekend. Honey, where's my commemorative cup? I'm going to go to Giordano's. It's in the dresser like it always is. Oh, that's right.
You're using it as a pin holder in your office. Oh, dumping the pins out of it. But that's actually a great idea. Go get a...
Is it in my neck of the woods? Because I'm actually by the Epcot Center or by Disney World.
I'm trying to remember which direction it is, but I know that it's got one of those slingshot things, one of those arch things that shoots a slingshot next to it.
Oh, okay. All
so
right.
if you want to go do that.
Well, there's always DoorDash too.
I would suggest doing the slingshot and then eating the pizza.
Then eating the pizza, not swapping those around.
No.
Okay.
Don't eat the pizza, then go.
All right. BYU and Houston. Lavelle Edwards Stadium is the site as the Cougars will wrap up their regular season. And I think it's important, Hans, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but you've had a couple tweets about it. You also went over it in the morning after. You've been dialed in on this really well. Just because you've lost 2 in a row does not mean you are out of the running for the Big 12 title game. Now, you're going to need some help, but there are some scenarios in which BYU can still make it to that Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, there's a lot of good hope and good possibilities out there. And I'll start with the most likely possibility. The most likely is BYU beating Houston, Iowa State losing to Kansas State. That's the most likely. That's probably the highest probability, and that's the most hope.
Yeah.
The second most hope and the second most obvious probability is BYU beating Houston and Arizona State losing to Arizona.
Always a rivalry game. That game can always get a little funky.
But at this point, I would love if there was a way Arizona State and Iowa State, if they both lost, then I think it's BYU and Colorado if Colorado wins. So I would still love to see BYU play Colorado, but I've had a change in heart after what I saw last weekend. I would love a rematch.
Yeah.
I would absolutely just delight in a rematch of those two teams, BYU and
because
Arizona
you think
State.
BYU matches up well with them? Or are you just from an entertainment
I
standpoint?
think they figured some things out.
Yeah, in that second half.
Now, what they're going to have to ask themselves some hard questions. Did we figure things out or did they change on us?
Yeah.
Did their mindset switch? Did their scheme switch? I went back and I looked at their defensive scheme, and I was right with the motion into the 8-man box where 8 guys were staying and they were letting the motion man continue off a zone look. And all of them played the downhill step first. All of them. So can you look at that and say, all right, they'll do that again because they're going to take Retzlaff's option keep, Retzlaff's scramble, and Retzlaff's running. They're going to take all of that away. And then what is a side effect of doing that is taking away LJ Martin. That's a side effect of if I'm doing those 3 things to Retzlaff, the side effect is I'm taking LJ Martin out.
Yeah.
That does leave me susceptible to the slants, which you saw BYU took advantage of. And that leaves me susceptible to the deep ball. Now they're actually running it's a cover 2 hybrid. It's 2 safety high hybrid. But both those safeties are shallow, and both of them are looking for run edge support. Those safeties, every time they were watching any of that motion and the potential fly sweep give or the potential flip to the outs, the flats, they're going to go hit that, and they're going to go hit at full steam. So I could put together, I think, an offensive game plan that I would feel pretty comfortable with. The problem is I have to be able to hit the deep ball.
And you can run that when you don't have a lot of respect for what you can on the deep pass over the top.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because your safeties are edge run support first.
Yeah.
And then bail second.
Yep.
The other thing I would do is I wouldn't change my offense. I'm just adding, because I understand the RPO game, but the BYU RPO is different. BYU's RPO is a much more predetermined run-pass option. There are RPO packages where it really is, I don't know what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take the snap. I might give and I might throw. BYU's RPO is, no, the defense is showing me give. I think for the most part, it's not, the defense is showing me give. The pre-call is give, but it's an RPO look, but it's not really an RPO. It's not a full RPO nature, the run-pass option nature. What I would do is I would build something off of play-action look that takes advantage of their forward lean and their outs and their to the flats bail. And if that's hitting quick slants until they are forced to do something different and hitting quick slants at every position, from the tight end to the slot to the X to a halfback in a 5-man out situation. I don't care. I'm just going to I'm going to force them to do something, back it off. And then once I feel like they're backing off, then we're going back into that run game. But they showed that they can absolutely stop your run game.
Yeah.
They beat the crap out of LJ Martin.
Yeah.
And they stopped the crap out of Jake Retzlaff. and they're very athletic. And they were hungry, man.
Yeah.
They hate BYU. They played like they hated BYU.
That had kind of a feel of, because for the most part, BYU has gone places and everybody's like, oh, love that you're here. I mean, you've been part of that. You've been on these trips where
Baylor, UCF.
All these schools are like, oh, hey, it's BYU. Oh, thanks for bringing your legion of fans and everybody else.
Open arms and loving.
But Arizona State, I don't know where Arizona State got sideways with BYU. Maybe the old WAC days from the 70s. I don't know. But you got a generation of young Arizona State fans that were out for blood for some reason.
Well, let's take them out of that Sun Devil Stadium.
Yeah.
And drop them in Dallas or Arlington. And give BYU the run. Now, Dillingham, I'm so conflicted on him.
Yeah, I am too.
You know how that is.
I lost a little respect for him over this last few days.
I feel like I did too, but I still put myself in a player's shoes, and I gained respect.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm really conflicted on him because as a broadcaster and an observer, I'm like, that was over the top. As a kid that's on that team, I'm seeing my coach red-faced, and we came out of the win, and the ending went the way the ending went. I'm like, my coach has my back. He'll take fines. He'll fist fight. He'll tell a ref right to his face what he can do to himself, what his family can do, and nobody's going to do a damn thing about it.
Yeah.
Because that's my coach. Yep. So I'm conflicted on him. But take them out of that stadium, whatever their comfort zone is there. They hadn't lost all season in that stadium.
No.
Drop them in Arlington, and let's see who the better coaching staff is. That, to me, is an opportunity to say, all right, we know what our personnel is, and it matches up. You got the better of me in game one. I know we got the better of you in the second half. Now let's see coaching wise. Yeah. What do you got?
Yeah.
I'll take Jay Hill in almost every battle.
I agree.
And I think what it would do is put the emphasis on Aaron Roderick. It would spotlight Aaron Roderick to say, okay, you know what your quarterback limitations are. I know what your quarterback limitations are. And because of those limitations, I know how to play you. Now beat me. Figure that out.
Yeah. All right, 2:45, Hans and Scotty will wrap up this bad boy coming up next as we continue to get you ready for the final weekend of college football here in the state of Utah in the regular season. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
I think the harder thing is who do you pick for offensive coordinator?
Sure.
How much do you shake up and what do you shake up?
I've told you about my favorite episode in the show The Office. Michael goes out to film himself becoming a wilderness survival person. While Michael's gone, Jim takes over the office. And Jim, having sat back, watched Michael make all these mistakes, says, I can fix this office in a day. And the changes he makes are poorly received. Michael comes back. He's talking to Jim. Jim says, I'm glad you're back. He says, I tried to do all these things. And Michael says, oh yeah, I tried to do all those things too. And they all failed. Meaning, the reason Utah does things this way is on purpose.
It works.
It's not that Witt hasn't tried to do other things. It's not that he hasn't thought of doing other things. He has tested them and they have failed. And he says, you know what works? Exactly what I'm doing.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. For the latest on the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, and Aggies, we've got you covered. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G on 97.5 the Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hey, make sure to join JJ and Alex Friday from 3 to 5 at Doug Smith Mitsubishi, 495 West Main Street in American Park, just off the freeway. No one knows Mitsubishi like Doug. Hey, Doug.
Speaking of Fork, I hope everybody enjoys their amazing Thanksgiving. I hope that you're able to reflect on the amazing things that we have in this life and in this country and the family that you get to spend time with and the friends that you get to spend time with. And you're able to just really reflect on all the things that you are grateful for.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really do love that aspect of it. And we do that. It's a tradition. Nobody's allowed to leave the table until you give 5 things that you're extremely grateful for.
Should we have our 5 things that we're grateful for? Lloyd, what are you grateful for?
Lloyd, you start.
I'm 1. You're 2.
So, okay, so Scotty and I are 1 and 2.
Well, yeah. I'm grateful for doing this show with you guys. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful.
All of them?
My immediate fam. All of them. I love all my family. I'm grateful for.
Is your 104-year-old grandma going to be there?
Yeah, I think she is. Jessica's grandma, yes.
Lloyd's got a 104-year-old grandma.
I know. It's crazy.
That still wears Pink Floyd shirts.
No, she doesn't.
Was she not in a Pink Floyd shirt?
I was wearing a Pink Floyd shirt. She goes, I love Pink Floyd.
104. That's
104.
Awesome.
And I'm thankful that the Raiders keep losing.
Oh, stop it.
You are not.
No, you're not.
I am too. Yes.
You are not.
Yeah, I am. Though I told you, when the Raiders did have the lead against the Broncos, I told the boys, screw it. We want to win. Let's get this.
Listen, we want to win.
I don't care.
Yeah. All right, Scotty, what are you grateful for?
Grateful for the show. Grateful for being able to talk sports with my friends every day. These 3 hours of the day are the best 3 hours. These 3 hours are the best 3 hours of my day.
Yeah,
love it.
Good.
Absolutely love it. Grateful for good listeners that always say hi at remotes.
Love you.
Absolutely love you guys. Thanks for keeping us employed. Thanks for letting us keep doing what we'd love to do. Grateful for good coaches. You know, whether it's the guys I work with at Utah State or whether it's Kyle, whether it's Jay, we are extremely blessed to work with good coaches who are respectable human beings, because that's actually a little rare in the business these days. And then let's see, family, obviously, beautiful wife, great kids, and I think that's about it.
I am grateful that it is November 27th and we still have meaningful football.
Yes, there you go.
That I get to call a BYU Houston game that's got everything on the line.
It matters.
It all matters. And Houston is very capable of beating BYU. Mm-hmm. Very, very capable. It is going to take a dynamic offensive game plan. Otherwise, you're going to have to win this game 13-10. You're going to have to keep them in that 10 to 12 point range if you can't get things going offensively, which you can do.
Yeah.
This defense can keep them. They've had a couple of shutouts. They've been held to 3 points. Like, you can hold them to that 3 to 10 point range. It's very doable. But there's this weird wrinkle of the unpredictable with this new coordinator. And I was just watching film of this Houston quarterback. This will be his 6th start.
Jeez.
And he is a dual threat. So if you get the right coordinator, and he's very good, you get the right defensive coordinator that understands his ability and figures out how to maximize it, then you got a problem. For instance, against Baylor, I was starting with Baylor film this morning. This quarterback drives him right down to the 10-yard line and then throws a pick off an out route, 5-yard out, and he just throws a pick. If you can teach him, don't extend yourself, stay inside your frame, and we'll take the drive and we'll take the 3, then you could find some success there offensively, and this really could be a tight game. So I'm just grateful that we've got some fantastic football and that this is our job.
Yeah.
That this is our job, man. Sitting around with a couple buddies, chatting about sports, not taking it too serious, but making sure that we understand that the listeners do take it serious, and so we try to bring you some serious info. And then grateful for good pie.
Yes. There you go.
Let the pies fly.
Let's do it. All right, JJ and Alex coming up next. We'll be back with you on Friday. Enjoy that Turkey Day, folks. Get loaded up on the tryptophan and then get ready for some football coming up this weekend. Hans and Scotty, this is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.